What's going on, YouTube? Somebody Joe back at it again here. For today, we're doing something different. So today we're going to go over the price of Bitcoin, right? Many of you are probably wondering, like, man, how does he get all this money to buy all these cards? Like, I looked at the prices, to buy that stuff online. This is like, it's like thousands of dollars. Well, one of my side hustles outside of work is I trade in cryptocurrency. One of my favorites is Bitcoin, and then there's also some meme coins out there that I'll dabble with. The powers that be at work, we have this little group where we get together and we'll decide what little projects we go into. Sometimes we hit, sometimes we don't, but that's the game, and that's what keeps it fun. But many of you are probably wondering what Bitcoin is and what it's been doing lately. So as you can see on the chart, so Bitcoin is a digital currency, right? There was it was an answer back in 2008 of, hey, how can we make money that you can't create more of and you can't inflate, right? So the problem with fiat currency, which is paper money, which is what we use today for the US dollar, is that if there's a money printer, you can just endlessly make money. So back in the 70s and in World War II, the US dollar used to be backed by gold, like dollar per dollar. Like each dollar was worth $1 worth of gold, right? And that kept the currency extremely strong, and it was the world's most powerful currency for a long time. But as time went on and the more wars we got into, things began to be more expensive. So in order to fund these wars, the only choice that the institutions had was to de-back the dollar from gold. So they took the gold standard away, and they've done that twice in history. And by doing that, it made the dollar backed by the US government, right? And they eventually made it to where it was called the petrodollar, to where it had some utility that you can only buy oil if you bought it with US dollars. So it gave it some value outside of gold. But over time, central banks and the government were kind of taking advantage of this by just printing more money when they needed things. And it's also a way to kind of combat citizens from saving money. So when citizens save money, it takes money out of circulation, and they need money to go through to be consumed with like stores going out, restaurants, things like that, in order to kind of keep cogs in the wheels going. But when people save that money, it puts a stall in the system. So to combat this, the government will print money in order to get the things that they need and want and that they vote for. But over time, it makes that currency kind of physically worthless. So your savings accounts are being diminished, your buying power is being diminished. So either a group or one single person, who knows, we don't know, we'll probably never know, decided to make a digital currency from cryptography. It was a new technology that came out. I believe it first originated in the 70s or the 80s, and then as technology progressed, they finally were able to make a digital currency in 2008. It started simple. They were like, hey, it's like digital money. If you were to go to a supermarket, or not a supermarket, let's say a flea market. So a flea market, right? People have antiques or a little like fruits and vegetables, things like that. You're not going to be able to use a credit card to buy those things, right? It's cash only. So same thing with the internet. If you want to do it that way, what they use is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, if you have to make a wallet online, right, or a mobile wallet, cold storage wallet, whichever holds it. That's technically a wallet, no different than a wallet that you have for cash and credit cards. And with this, it's privacy for your purchases. Okay, so just like if you're paying with cash, there's no trace of it. Same thing with Bitcoin. It just goes into, it gets filed under the node that a transaction was made, but it doesn't say who or what from, unless you do some digging and then this is the wallet that it came from. But if you go to a Bitcoin ATM, it's traceless. So it's a beautiful thing, and it exploded over the years. It gained a lot of popularity going into 2020 and now into 2024. Now it's even one of the biggest things for talking points for the election, because we're hitting a point that kind of we've been dealing with like an inflation crisis, And one of the solutions that many people are seeing is that Bitcoin could be the answer. Because normally fiat currencies, they have a life cycle of about 50 years. So the US dollar 50 years ago was a different US dollar. Like, it was still called the US dollar, but it was backed by gold at that point, to where this one that we have is backed by just the US government and oil. And we're about, I think, at year 53, so we're overdue for a new currency. So a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin. Institutions are looking at Bitcoin. We recently passed the Bitcoin ETF, so people can put it on like their IRAs, retirement funds, just like any other ETF or commodity like gold. If you have a Fidelity account or any other brokerage account, you can just buy it without physically owning the Bitcoin. Whichever is better for you to make your investments, awesome. I like physically owning my Bitcoin because that's how I know it's mine. Whereas an ETF, it's just this little slip that says you own it, so you don't really own it. But yeah, so it's been a hot topic, and people that are in the space already are kind of wondering what's going on with the price, right? So we had a halving back in April. So what that means is that in order to create more Bitcoin, computer systems solve a very complex algorithm. It's like a puzzle, right? And it costs a lot of energy to solve that puzzle. And that's what caused graphics cards to explode in price for a long time, because the more graphics card power you had, the more you were able to solve these complex problems. But what a halving is that about every 4 years, the rewards, so if you solve a Bitcoin algorithm, you'll get rewarded. It was like something like, I don't know, let's say 1,000 Bitcoin, right? Where we had this halving back in April, so now that 1,000 was cut in half, so now the reward is only 500. So many of you are probably like, oh no, it cuts your profits in half, that's terrible. Not necessarily, because now it makes Bitcoin more scarce, and one of the big things with money is that something you can't make more of, something that's desirable, and has a scarcity, so it creates those things. So institutions have finally kind of started catching on, and one of the biggest companies from Michael Saylor is MicroStrategy, and they're just a software company. Like nothing really groundbreaking, but what they decided to do, their leader, was that any asset that they have and investments that they get from people that buy their stock, they take that money and then just buy Bitcoin with it. That's all they do. And they have, they exploded to where they were the top performing company in the world, even more than NVIDIA, which NVIDIA has been going absolutely insane. I think it's going to be what creates Skynet in the Terminator world, and we're sprinting to the finish line for that. But yeah, so it eclipsed NVIDIA, and so now all these companies, so like Microsoft, Apple, Intel, all these big companies are now looking at MicroStrategy like, okay, well, if all we have to do is take stock share money and put it and just buy Bitcoin with it, and we're going to perform better overall, why don't we just do that? So that, in my opinion, is going to be the future. And it's also, in my opinion, what's been keeping Bitcoin at this 60,000 level. So there was recently a pullback in the stocks to where NVIDIA had its earnings. So NVIDIA is the front runner for the entire stock market as far as risk on, because it is a tech company, and tech is technically risk. And they beat earnings quarter over quarter, and no different with this one. I think they were about $3 billion over the estimated earnings. But people that do invest, they want to take profits from that, right? So what they do is, after the earnings, like, oh man, it's so positive, we beat earnings, oh my god, it might spike a little bit, but then the people at the top, the smart money, were like, okay, this is the top right now, I'm going to take profits, so they sell. And then everybody else is like, okay, well, number one sold, now number two, I got to sell, and it just kind of trickles down from there. So it creates a pullback, and then people are looking at, oh my god, is this the crash? Oh no. But no, because right after another day, it went right back up. But Bitcoin pulled back really hard as well. So we recently, in the past few days, hit $64,000 for a Bitcoin, which is really good. Because back in 2020, I think the all-time high was 69,000. So we've been at the local high for a long time now, over a month now. But quickly, as soon as it kind of dipped down to, I think the lowest was 57,600, it got bought right back up. So there's a guy out there called Mr. 100. Like every day, he just buys 100 Bitcoin. He's been buying more than that now, and anytime it dips, institutions come in, big buyers come in, Mr. 100 comes in, and they buy that dip. And I think the rationale for that is that they know that Bitcoin is going to be the new world's money, and they want to get ahead of that. So people with billions of dollars, they look at 10 to 30 years outlook, like what the world is going to be like, and that's why they're making these big purchases, because it's solidifying their survival. So right now, as you can see on the chart, we're at 59,000 around there. So it might be a pullback. Many people are wondering, like, well, how come we're not in the 70? How come we're not at 100K? What's keeping it from crashing? It's kind of stuck in this little median. History tells us that August and September are normally kind of boring months for crypto, or sell-offs, right? A lot of people say sell in May and go away, because a lot of the big money, they kind of go on their summer vacation, they go to their summer home, they just relax, and then they'll come back in for right in September into October. What a lot of investors call October is Uptober, because normally October is kind of a bull run. So we do got October coming up. We're almost out of August here, going into September, so September can kind of go either way. But what Bitcoin really needs to do here is it needs to hold over $64,000, okay, or right around 62,064, but it needs to hold it for a good amount of time to confirm that that is the new baseline. So until it does that, we're going to be stuck in this little 59,000, 60,000 range, and even below this, I think the next level of support is about 53,000, so we could see a dip a little lower. Fridays are notoriously sell-off days, because a lot of traders, that's their Friday. They want to go into the weekend. They don't want to stress about anything, so they just take their profits on Fridays, and they go away for the weekend, and they come back on Monday, and then Monday will just, who knows if it's going to go up or down for the market, and then Tuesday through Thursday are usually the game days. But yeah, PCE data for inflation came back good, so things are bullish, coming for a rate cut in September. The only thing that's kind of concerning me is that Warren Buffett, I think, sold all of his Apple stocks and is also selling his U.S. bank stocks, and he's been in the game forever. Like when the game was invented, he's been here. So that's a big tell for me that he's looking at, like, hey, this is the top. We're going to go into a recession soon, and he's just going to have billions of dry powder to buy everything at the cheap. So he's looking at it like the market's done. Okay, so going into the end of the year, we really don't know, because there's so much going on. There's we have the election, right? One of the biggest talking points is cryptocurrency and the state of the economy with inflation. So there's certain ways it could go, that it could go higher, but there's also ways that it could go lower. But one of the things that it needs to do, at least for a chart standpoint, is to confirm over 61,000, hold it, and then it'll kind of spring higher from there. I think we'll see that in September. If we don't, we'll probably see 53,000, and then October. I think October will be bullish, and then whatever we find out from the election will then either make things go down or go up a lot. So it just all depends. But the main thing to do, don't look at Bitcoin as to get rich quick. Look at it to protect your buying power, your purchasing power, and to protect your financial freedom. So I always recommend, and none of this is financial advice, right? But I recommend, if you are to buy Bitcoin, to dollar cost average. And what is dollar cost averaging? So normally in an American pay cycle, we get paid every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, take some money that you don't care if you lose, and you don't really need. If you would put it in a savings account, money like that once your bills are paid, you got leftover money, and just buy every 2 weeks or so, or anytime you kind of come into money that you don't need, you could buy it then, because then now you're buying in a median range, right? So you're buying on the lows, you're buying at the highs, you're buying in the middle, and overall, over time, your money will go up, you know, and your investment will go up. But one of the things with Bitcoin, they say, you know, don't sell it, right? Because cryptocurrency is a beautiful thing, especially, so if you're a sci-fi nerd, right? So anything in space, Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that. What do they say for monetary? Like anything monetary, they call it credits, right? So with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, this is how we get to that future with what is called credits. It's digital. You know, how are you going to be able to maneuver funding from ship to ship if you're out in space? Digital through a network, right? And that's the future. And we're talking, you know, Elon Musk is constantly innovating his technology. So maybe we'll see it in the next 20 years, you know, who knows? But think long term. Think, where am I going to be financially 5 years from now? Where am I going to be financially 10 years from now? Where am I going to be financially 20 years from now? Like, is my family going to be comfortable? Or am I going to have a roof over my head, right? So that's what I like to recommend. And it's a long journey. You know, if you have a good job, stay in your job. If you have an opportunity to advance your education or certification, definitely go do that, because then it just increases your purchasing power, right? But eventually, no matter what, the writing is on the wall. Bitcoin will be new world money. And this is one of our only opportunities that we can front run the mega corporations, political elites, billionaires, things like that, when we're getting in now, right? And trust me, all of them are buying. Every single dip, all of these dips that have been going on would have normally brought Bitcoin down to like 40 or 30,000 easily. But they understand that this is going to be the new standard. So that's why they've been buying these dips up like crazy, to where it is just stuck at this 59 to 60K range. And if you're, obviously 60,000, that's a lot for one, right? But considering that it could possibly go to, you know, $1 million of Bitcoin, to where $1 million won't be able to buy a Bitcoin because nobody wants a fiat currency that's worthless. Yeah, you did good, right? So just look at it in fragments, right? Look at it at 0.01. So that would be $600, or 0.1, right? Be 6,000. So whatever your financial stability norm is, look at it in fractions to kind of keep a goal that's more easily to obtain, right? Try to get to 0.01 in your account, or try to get to 0.1 in your account, and make an ultimate goal of having one full coin, right? That'd be a beautiful thing. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try to do a video every other day on Bitcoin, and kind of bringing Pokemon cards and cryptocurrency together, like they're both assets, both of them that I'm a nerd for and I enjoy. And thank you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.